high cement pillar, carefully watching a lonely payphone that was inside the booth. Soon the phone booth door was pushed open and a man rushed in. Picked up the receiver, put a dime in the phone slot, waited for the phone to ring on the other end. The line was probably busy. He hung up the phone, put his fingers in the coin return to retrieve his dime, but it wasn't there. Little did he know, his dime was resting on the toilet paper that was stuffed up inside the coin return. As an official member of the neighborhood pranksters, I stood watching. 7 of the phone booths in a long row of booths in Union Station on Canal Street had toilet paper stuffed up the coin return. This was the brainstorm idea of Squeaky Laporte, along with 3 more high-spirited 12-year-olds that joined them in the escapades. The 4 of us, Squeaky Laporte, Dave Dada Hernandez, Mario DeSandro, and myself, Bobby Butts Eisenberg, viewed the phone activity from a secure location for about 20 minutes. With his high-pitched, squealy voice, Squeaky said, "You know, guys, we hit a number of scams to make money to support our pinball habit, but this time we're going to make a killing." With that said, we slipped into our assigned booths, pulled out the toilet paper, and listened to the tinny tinkling sound of the dimes falling in the coin return. Our dimes were collected and given to our banker, Dave Dada Hernandez. After using our winnings at the arcades, we walked across the street and saw a movie at the Chicago Theater, along with a stage show that featured Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. After that activity, we were worn out, but we had to make our way back home by streetcar. But we were out of money. We quickly made a plan. We got on the streetcar in single file, and as each of us walked up to the conductor, we looked at him and pointed back with our thumb over our shoulder to the person behind us. As prankster DeSandro faced the conductor, he shrugged his shoulders and said, "Somehow I must have lost my money." Little did the conductor know he lost his money in the arcades in the movie theater. Well, the longer we gave excuses to the conductor, the longer we stayed on the streetcar before we were kicked off. And the closer we came to getting home. About 4 streetcars later, we were home. Tired, happy, but enjoyed a wonderful day in our playground, downtown Chicago. These pranksters were the kind of people I enjoyed being with. I was very much accepted by them, even though I was the only Jewish boy in the group. The Jewish kids in the neighborhood didn't associate with us, mainly because they were obedient to their parents, who insisted that they come home and pay attention to their studies and not hang out in the street with the Gentile boys. This caused friction between the Jews and the Gentiles in our neighborhood, and the Jewish kids were always picked on when they were seen on the streets. At the age of 11, I lived with my father, grandfather, and grandmother. My grandma Miriam had a beautiful face with silky gray hair that was pulled back in a bun. She always tried to lead me in the right direction in her kind and subtle way. "Pick up Bernie on your way to school," my grandmother Miriam said to me. "He's a nice Jewish boy who always studies, and I'm friendly with his mother, Bella Tannenbaum. We met at the butcher shop where we pick out chickens together, and I told her you would pick up Bernie on your way to school." I can't stand Bernie, and I didn't want to pick him up. But on my way to school, I passed Bernie's house, and about a half a block away, I stopped, turned around, and heard my grandma's voice in my head. I plowed back, hammered on Bernie's door, and said, "Come on, Bernie, you're walking to school with me." For some reason, he was thrilled. I was devastated. I tried walking ahead of him, but he double timed to keep up with me. And as we continued, two boys that I didn't know walked up behind us. They were street kids. One pushed Bernie from the back and said, "Hey, Jew boy." Those words went through me like a knife. Again he pushed Bernie and said, "Kite, did you hear me?" He wasn't looking at me, but my blood was boiling. I looked at Bernie and said, "On the count of 3, we're going to turn around and beat the crap out of these guys." So 1, 2, 3. I turned around and fists were flying everywhere. I got the best of one guy, but his buddy got me from behind. They flattened me and ran away. Bernie was nowhere to be seen. After school, I went home with my swollen black eye. My grandma looked at me in shock and said, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" I pointed to my swollen eye and said, "This is what happens to me for picking up Bernie." She held my head in her hands, gently pressed the cloth lightly on my eye, and kissed my forehead. Then she looked me straight in the eye and said, "Bernie's a nice Jewish boy who always studies. Tomorrow, pick up Bernie." The next day, as Bernie and I walked to school, he admitted he felt protected walking with me. I felt sorry for him and accepted him, even though I knew he'd never fit in or be part of